Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Friday night Smackdown post-show. Starting off the night, man, we have WWE Champion Drew McIntyre coming out to the ring, but he's quickly attacked by Cody Rhodes. McIntyre leaves the ring. Rhodes is in the ring with a microphone. Rhodes says that he gets his payback after the Rumble. Rhodes says that things will never be the same with Drew McIntyre. Rhodes then talks about being excited for Punk and Roman Reigns. He also talks about his history that he's had in Charlotte because Smackdown was in Charlotte. Rhodes then talks about his discomfort being in Charlotte without being world champion. Rhodes then says that McIntyre won't make it to WrestleMania. Looks like Rhodes has some unfinished business with Drew McIntyre. Moving on from that, we have our first official match kicking off SmackDown. It is for the women's tag team titles. It is Io Sky and Rhea Ripley defending the women's tag team titles against Kiana James and Julia. The match itself, I thought, was a decent match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley keeping the pace of the match. Kiana James hits a powerbomb on Io on top, landing on top of Rhea Ripley. Julia then hits a Hurricane Rana in the middle of the ring, but Rhea hits a Riptide in the middle of the ring, followed by Io Sky hitting a moonsault off the top rope, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match, and still women's tag team champions, are Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Hats off to Io Sky and Rhea Ripley for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have The Miz taking on Carmelo Hayes. This is not for the United States Championship. The match itself, it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between The Miz and Hayes, with Hayes keeping the pace of the match. Hayes hits a springboard leg drop on The Miz. The Miz then gets up, tries to get some offense in by landing yes kicks on Carmelo Hayes in the middle of the ring. Miz then hits a slingshot powerbomb on Carmelo Hayes in the middle of the ring for a near fall, but Hayes gets up, hits a first 48 on The Miz, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Carmelo Hayes. Hats off to Carmelo Hayes for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have our first Elimination Chamber qualifying match for the women. It is Lash Legend versus Tiffany Stratton versus Chelsea Green. I thought this was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Lash Legend, Tiffany Stratton, and Chelsea Green, with Lash keeping the pace of the match. Lash Legend then hits a press slam on Tiffany Stratton for a near fall, followed by Tiffany getting up, hitting a handspring elbow, followed by a superplex in the middle of the ring. Lash Legend then hits a choke slam on Tiffany in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Chelsea Green then hits a coast-to-coast for a near fall. Nia Jax then grabs Chelsea Green's leg, which breaks the pinfall. This allowed Tiffany Stratton to hit a moonsault off the top rope, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and the first person to qualify for the Women's Elimination Chamber match is Tiffany Stratton. Hats off to Tiffany Stratton for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Kit Wilson coming out to the ring, grabs a microphone. He talks about the Royal Rumble and how he was invited to be at the Rumble but decided not to be in the Royal Rumble. Kit then mocks the Royal Rumble. He also says the Rumble was toxic. Kit then calls out anyone from the back, and then we get Oba Femi. Oba Femi makes his SmackDown debut, and then we get into an impromptu matchup between Oba Femi and Kit Wilson. This was a glorified squash match, with Oba Femi keeping the pace of the match, and Oba Femi ultimately hits a devastating powerbomb on Kit Wilson, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Oba Femi. Hats off to Oba Femi for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Drew McIntyre once again trying to make his way out to the ring, but he's quickly interrupted and attacked by none other than Jacob Fatu. WWE security are here, but they try to break up Fatu and McIntyre, but Fatu ends up attacking WWE security. So it looks like Fatu also has some unfinished business with WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. Moving on from that, we have Nakamura taking on Tama Tonga. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Nakamura and Tama Tonga, with Tama keeping the pace of the match. Nakamura attacks JC Mateo, who was ringside. Nakamura and Tama Tonga both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Tonga grabbing Nakamura's foot. This allowed Tama Tonga to hit his finish, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Tama Tonga. Moving on from that, we have Liv Morgan coming out to the ring with Raquel Rodriguez. Liv grabs a microphone and says that she is the greatest Royal Rumble winner of all time. Liv then praises herself Liv then says WrestleMania is not the only thing that's on her mind. Then she mentions Raquel Rodriguez, but both Raquel and Liv Morgan are interrupted by Jade Cargill. Cargill comes out to the ring. Jade says that she doesn't care that Liv won the Rumble. She also says that if Liv chooses her, Jade is going to beat her ass. After that, Jade Cargill, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez are interrupted by none other than Jordynne Grace. Grace comes out to the ring, gives congrats to Liv Morgan, but then Grace mocks Jade Cargill, says that she's still waiting for her title opportunity. And then Nick Aldis, who was in the ring, announces that it will be Jade Cargill teaming up with Jordynne Grace to take on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, which gets us into an impromptu matchup where it is Liv Morgan teaming up with Raquel Rodriguez to take on Jordynne Grace and Jade Cargill. The match itself, I thought was an okay match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez keeping the pace of the match. Jade Cargill hits a super kick on Jordynne Grace by accident. Raquel then accidentally hits Liv Morgan as well, but Grace hits a roll-up, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Jordynne Grace and Jade Cargill. Hats off to Jade Cargill and Jordynne Grace for getting the win in this matchup. And speaking of Jade Cargill, Nick Aldis announces that next week on SmackDown, it will be Jordynne Grace versus Jade Cargill for the women's title. So Jade actually has to defend her title finally. And moving on from that, we have Drew McIntyre once again coming out to the ring. He finally gets a chance to talk after he was attacked by Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu earlier in the night. Drew mocks Zayn, Rhodes, and Fatu. Drew also talks about CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Drew says that he feels frustrated because Punk and Reigns mocked him as well as SmackDown and his WWE Championship. Drew says that he earned this title. Drew also says that Roman made the easier choice, but after that, Drew McIntyre is interrupted by none other than Trick Williams. Trick Williams comes out to the ring, says Drew should be worried about Trick, and that Trick says that he's going to take the WWE title. Some interesting stuff there between Trick Williams and Drew McIntyre. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is a Elimination Chamber qualifying matchup. It is also the main event of Friday Night SmackDown. We have Solo Sikoa taking on Aleister Black versus Randy Orton. I thought it was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Sikoa, Aleister Black, and Randy Orton, with Orton keeping the pace of the match. After that, Aleister Black hits a moonsault to the outside. Solo Sikoa hits a hip attack. Solo then hits a splash off the top rope for a near fall. Aleister Black and Solo Sikoa both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Aleister Black hitting a Meteora, followed by Orton hitting a power slam in the middle of the ring. Orton then hits 2 back suplexes on Solo Sikoa onto the announce table, followed by Orton hitting another back suplex on Aleister Black also on the announce table. Orton then hits a vintage DDT on Solo. Aleister Black then hits a running knee on Solo for a near fall. Orton then hits an RKO on Aleister Black in the middle of the ring. Solo then lines up a Samoan spike, but Orton hits an RKO out of nowhere on Solo Sikoa, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and the first person to qualify for the men's Elimination Chamber match is Randy Orton. Hats off to Randy Orton for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys when it pertains to Friday Night SmackDown before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, was it a good SmackDown? No, it was not, man. I thought that SmackDown sucked, to be honest with you. It literally felt more than 3 hours. It was absolutely brutal, man. This was the first SmackDown in a while, bro, honestly, that I can say that I wish I missed this SmackDown. This SmackDown was awful. The way they put it together, the way the whole show was played out, it was just lackluster, lifeless, and just extremely nauseating to watch, man. There was a couple good things about the show. I'm not going to completely sit here and shit on the show. I do like this interaction that we're getting between Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu. Now, in my honest opinion, and I might have made comments about this last week, I think with us, the direction that we're going into WrestleMania on the SmackDown side of things, we already got the announcement between CM Punk and Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship, which, again, I think is going to be a great match if they continue to build this matchup between Punk and Reigns leading us into WrestleMania. I think on the SmackDown side of things, I think we're going to be most likely seeing a triple threat matchup here with Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against the likes of Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. I just think that's the direction that we're going. Now, we also have a triple threat match between Rhodes, Fatu, and Sami Zayn next week. And the winner of that will also qualify for the men's Elimination Chamber matchup. So it is going to be interesting to see how that matchup plays out between Rhodes, Fatu, and Sami Zayn. Again, Sami Zayn also has some unfinished business with Drew McIntyre and the WWE Championship. Obviously, Zayn was unsuccessful at the Royal Rumble, where he came up short against McIntyre, and McIntyre was able to retain his WWE Championship, which, again, prolongs the situation between Zayn and McIntyre, where Zayn seemingly can't get a win over Drew McIntyre. But I think, like I said, I think for the direction that we're going for SmackDown, I think it's starting to slowly lean in towards a triple threat matchup here between the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and the Samoan Werewolf, Jacob Fatu, taking on the WWE Champion, Drew McIntyre. I think that's the way things are slowly starting to play out here for the SmackDown side of things. Other good thing as well is that we get the SmackDown debut of Obafemi. Obafemi comes out, he attacks Kit Wilson, he pretty much beats the shit out of Kit Wilson with this last ride devastating powerbomb that he has in his arsenal of moves, man. Obafemi has a lot of praise, man. I'm a huge fan of Obafemi. I think what he's done so far, whether it was NXT, what he did at the Rumble, I think WWE did a really good job in showcasing Obafemi as this legitimate badass powerhouse that he is, man. The guy is built like a brick shit house. He walks down to the ring. He's a force to be reckoned with on any roster. So to see Obafemi on SmackDown, yes, credit. It's a glorified jobber match with all due respect to Kit Wilson. It's showcasing, pretty much what they're doing is showcasing how strong of an opponent Obafemi is. Now, the direction of Obafemi, I don't know. I don't know the plans right now for Obafemi going into WrestleMania. There could be possibility of a Brock Lesnar-Obafemi match, which, again, if that were to be the case, I'm all for it. We had that little stare down between Obafemi and Brock Lesnar in the middle of the ring at the Royal Rumble. I'm not against or opposed at all to see Obafemi take on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. It's a marquee matchup. You got the Beast, you got the Ruler. I'm all for it. But what I'm not all for when it pertains to Obafemi is I understand for the past 2 weeks we kind of gave him more or less jobber matches. He debuted on Monday Night Raw by beating the shit out of the War Raiders, leaving them in pretty much in the middle of the ring in their own piss. We got Kit Wilson, who literally is, no, not for nothing, glorified jobber, to be honest with you. Obafemi beat the shit out of him on SmackDown. So my question now is, are we going to see Obafemi actually have a suitable challenger to face him and actually have a legitimate matchup, whether it be on Raw or SmackDown? Now, there's also been rumors and speculations about Obafemi that technically WWE kind of wants to have him as a glorified free agent, where he's not going to be stuck to one specific brand. He's not going to be a Raw superstar. He's not going to be a SmackDown superstar. He's going to be floating back and forth from Raw to SmackDown. Some people even mentioned the fact that we might see Obafemi over in AAA as well. So I'm going to be honest. I'd rather see Obafemi either a part of the Raw roster or SmackDown. I have been at the forefront saying that Obafemi would be great addition to Friday Night SmackDown. SmackDown is 3 hours, where roughly we have Raw about 2.5 hours. They need a solid name to solidify SmackDown for a 3-hour show, bro, because even with all due respect to Obafemi, the SmackDown episode that we just got, man, I thought was absolutely horrendous from across the board, man, to be honest with you. Yeah, the McIntyre stuff with Rhodes and Fatu, it was interesting, entertaining. Seeing Obafemi also making his SmackDown debut was also pretty cool, but, man, the show just kind of fell flat on its ass, man, to be honest with you. I don't know what they're doing on SmackDown. And then we get to the Jade Cargill situation, where I've been also at the forefront of this shit too. Jade Cargill hasn't really done shit with that women's title. She's held the belt now for almost 100 days. Hasn't had a single title defense until Nick Aldis announcing next week that Jordynne Grace and Jade Cargill will go down on SmackDown for the women's championship finally, bro. I don't know if it's something on the line where Jade Cargill maybe had talked to people backstage, maybe most likely Hunter, and said that she wants to hold on to the title until we see what happens with Bianca Belair, which, Bro, I don't know what the deal is with Bianca Belair. I really don't. And I know she had injured her hand, or possibly broke her hand at last year's WrestleMania, bro, but we're coming up on almost a year. So I don't know how bad that hand, I'm assuming, has to be severely injured, bro, for her to be out all this time. We did not see the likes of Bianca at the Rumble. I think the last time we legitimately saw Bianca Belair in a ring, but not wrestling, was when she was a special guest referee in a match at Evolution 2. So, again, what is going on with Bianca? Is there some kind of situation behind closed doors that we don't know about between Bianca and WWE? I mean, look at the situation with the Street Profits, bro. I mean, obviously Bianca is with Montez Ford. We haven't seen the Street Profits on WWE television, and they're doing live tapings for NXT. So did they get pushed out to maybe push Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins from the Street Profits back down to NXT? Maybe they don't see anything with the Street Profits, which is absolutely insane. Maybe there's a situation with that. I don't know. Maybe it correlates with each other. I don't know. But it is a little ironic, to be honest with you. With that being said, for Jade, I mean, the title reign, there's not really a title reign to really discuss, bro. The title reign is absolutely trash. She hasn't defended that title at all. And to be honest with you, I feel like she's just keeping the belt warm right now for somebody else, most likely Bianca Belair. I think Jade, if you're a Jade Cargill fan, God bless you. I got nothing against you. It's just, as far as what I've seen in the progress that Jade has made and the production around Jade, it's just not there, bro. It's not. I think at this point, she's an individual that works with WWE that just wants the money. I don't think she's willing to put the time, effort, and energy into actually making herself into a superstar. I think they're pushing this situation with her being WWE champion. I think it has a lot to do with her being up there in age, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that was one of the main vocal points of why she didn't go to NXT, because of her age. And another reason why she left AEW is because she felt like she was getting older. She wasn't getting the attention or the accolades that she wanted before she hangs up her gloves and hangs up her boots for good. But again, I understand that. I understand that, within WWE, you know, I think when you get to a certain age, it kind of either slows down, or obviously, that individual, whether it be a man or a woman, had to really look at the entire big picture here and how long they really want to wrestle. I mean, you look at someone like AJ Styles, or you look at someone like Tommaso Ciampa, where Styles just retired. We don't necessarily know if he's going to return and wrestle again. He's going to keep that door open. Tommaso Ciampa, he's had some injuries throughout his career, but now that he's with AEW, and he said he feels great. He feels like he can go another 10 years. So it depends on the individual. It depends on the individual and how they feel and how far they're willing to go in their career. I think with Jade, I think it's something where it comes down to her age. The fact that they're obviously pushing her right now and having her the current, women's champion. But her title reign is meaningless, bro. It's lifeless. There's no excitement around it. I mean, she's held that belt now for 100 days, and now we're finally getting her first title defense with Jordynne Grace, which, mind you, Jordynne Grace has come up short. She also lost the Women's Royal Rumble matchup as well, so it doesn't paint a perfect picture for Jordynne Grace to go after Jade Cargill's WWE Championship. And honestly, I think they dropped the ball with Jordynne Grace being on Smackdown. I think they did. Honestly, I mean, at the end of the day, the only people that are really genuinely going to give a shit about this matchup between Grace and Jade Cargill is solely due to the fact that is this something where Jade is going to drop the belt, which I don't think she will drop the title to Jordynne Grace. I'd be shocked. But I think that's the only entertaining factor in that entire matchup is Jade going to drop the title? Jade it's a failed experiment, bro. I made comments about Jade last week that she does give off vibes of Goldberg, especially how they built her up in AEW with the TBS title reign, her undefeated streak. She goes over to WWE. She has a lot of similarities to, I mentioned Sid Vicious, which I'm not trying to say Sid Vicious is a flash in the pan kind of talent, but there really wasn't a lot of build around Sid Vicious. And the other most notable name in my head that popped up, if you go far as back with wrestling that I do, she does give a lot of similarities to Ahmed Johnson, where he came into WWE a force to be reckoned with, a powerhouse. And WWE at the time tried to build around Ahmed Johnson, most specifically around the Intercontinental Championship back in the day. He had matches with Goldust. He had beef with Farouk. I feel like she does give a lot of vibes to Ahmed Johnson, where it's they're kind of similar builds as far as being powerhouses. There's no disagreeing with that. But the flash in the pan build, and then it goes to nothing. And that is exactly what happened to Ahmed Johnson, where at one time he was one of the top talents for WWE back in the day, and he was a flash in the pan, bro. It was in and out. You know what I mean? And obviously, Ahmed Johnson's career didn't really pan out that well in WWE, but I feel like Jade Cargill's in that same repertoire as far as an Ahmed Johnson or a Sid Vicious, where it's a short span, bro. It's a very low ceiling for Jade, in my honest opinion. Because even if we get to Bianca Belair, then you would have to ask yourself, okay, well then what's next for Jade Cargill after this? To be honest with you. Honestly. And it's something that's sufficient enough where people, or fans for that matter, are legitimately going to get behind what Jade Cargill is doing. And it's not me just picking on Jade, bro. I said the same thing about Zelina Vega. I think Vega, as far as in-ring career, I think it's done. I'm sorry. I think it's done. I think she's better suited to be with Aleister Black, to be this on-air manager or on-air persona attached to Aleister Black. I think it's better suited for Zelina. I don't think anybody legitimately gives a shit about Zelina Vega wrestling in WWE. I can say the same thing about Candice LeRae. I think LeRae is better suited to be a manager or something on the lines with Johnny Gargano. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody legitimately cares about Candice LeRae being in the ring. I think she's more fitted for a backstage role. I said the same thing about Natalya. I think Natalya, for a while, she's been with WWE for a long time. And I feel like with Natalya and the progression of her character and where they were going with Natalya, I feel like the well has run dry. And then we get this revamp of Natty, this more pissed off, edgier heel version of Natty, which she could take that into something else. I mean, sometimes it does work for talent to go from babyface to heel or heel to babyface. I said this for a while now, most notably Naomi. I mean, for the longest time, Naomi was always that babyface. And then when she attacked Jade Cargill and turned heel, we got this more evil, sinister Naomi, and it fit like a glove, bro. And it fit so well to a point where it got her another opportunity at being Women's World Champion. So, again, it does work sometimes, and at times it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. With Jade, she can turn back and be a heel or a babyface. I feel like it's not going to work. I think people are done with the Jade Cargill experiment. It's not working out. It's just not. And I go back to what I said last week about Jade. I think Jade should not have been fast-tracked to the main roster, and I think she should have been at least with NXT for a year. At least. Working on her in-ring skills, microphone skills, because her promos are awful. They're horrible, man. I think she should have stayed in NXT for at least 6 months to a year. Build up her craft, her in-ring ability, her microphone skills, and then maybe we fast-track her to the main roster. I personally don't believe that Jade Cargill was ready for the main roster, in my honest opinion. Besides that, I mean, like I said, we also had McIntyre, Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu. I made comments about that where I do believe the direction that we're going as far as the SmackDown side of things, going into WrestleMania this year, I think it will be a triple threat match between Drew, Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu for the WWE Championship. I think that's just the smart choice to go. We already have Punk and Reigns announced for WrestleMania as well. I don't know what they're going to do with Obafemi, possibly Brock Lesnar. I don't even know what they're going to do with Gunther at WrestleMania. But what I do know is that Gunther, in some way or some capacity, he will be a part of the WrestleMania festivities in April in Las Vegas. So we'll see how that plays out. We got the Elimination Chamber coming up at the end of the month. We had Randy Orton be the first qualifier for the men's side of the Elimination Chamber. We had Tiffany Stratton win her match, which gets her as the first women's qualifier for the women's Elimination Chamber match coming up as well. I think it's February 28th in Chicago, Illinois, is where they're showcasing the Elimination Chamber, which, again, is another exciting pay-per-view or PLE for WWE. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But this SmackDown, bro, it just fell flat. It honestly fell flat. It was lifeless. There was no intrigue with the show besides maybe Rhodes, Fatu, and Drew McIntyre. Besides that, man, the show kind of fell flat, to be honest with you. I was expecting a little bit more coming out of the Rumble, but it just fell flat, man. It honestly fell flat. And you can kind of see the direction where WWE is going. I made comments about this a couple weeks ago, bro, where all of a sudden out of the blue we have this resurgence, if you will, for the women's tag team division, which in some ways it's a good thing, some ways it's a bad thing, because you have the names of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, who are currently the women's tag team champions, but it takes them out of the main event scene for the current main women's world title with Stephanie Vaquer. Where Stephanie Vaquer right now, we don't know what she's doing. Most likely, it would be Vaquer defending that women's world title against Liv Morgan when Morgan pretty much cashes in on her decision with her winning the women's Royal Rumble. So, smart money would say Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vaquer for the women's world title. That leaves Jade pretty much, who knows what's going to happen with Jade at WrestleMania. But I think at that point, I'm expecting that we might see Bianca Belair, hopefully, and we're going to get Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill, which once we get that matchup, I don't know what's going to happen with Jade after that match and the direction that WWE has for Jade Cargill, to be honest with you. I don't see it, bro. I don't see it. I know she wants matches with Charlotte Flair and stuff like that, but besides that, what is left for Jade, man? Honestly. You know, like I said, I'm not trying to compare and contrast, but she does give vibes to a Sid Vicious or, you know, more specifically an Ahmed Johnson, where it's like a flash in the pan, bro. Where when Ahmed Johnson came into WWE, everybody was talking about Ahmed Johnson when he came into WWE and how much he was a powerhouse, and you know they were trying to push Ahmed Johnson towards the Intercontinental Championship, and he had matches with Goldust and dealing with Farouk and the Nation of Domination and shit like that. So I mean, it's kind of a flash in the pan, in my honest opinion. I think she needs more time to develop, especially on the microphone, and even more specifically, her in-ring ability or in-ring skills, bro, because it's just not there for me as a fan. It's just not. I can say I'm excited for the Jordynne Grace and Jade Cargill match only due to the fact that if Grace actually beats Cargill for the women's world title, which I don't see her doing that. I just don't. I think they're going to have Jade hold on to that title until maybe, just maybe, we get Jade versus Bianca Belair for the women's WWE Championship. I think that's the direction that they're trying to go, leading us into WrestleMania. But yeah, if I had to pick which show was better, I would 100% say that Monday Night Raw was a lot better. Which is not saying a lot, because Raw wasn't that great. But the ending of the show between CM Punk and Roman Reigns was great. That's a way to build a WrestleMania matchup right there, and it's kind of a dream match for a lot of fans. So I think I'm going to have to give it to Monday Night Raw a little bit more over than Friday Night SmackDown as far as which show was better during that week. There was also some small news that came out about Monday Night Raw, too, that might shake a lot of shit up going into WrestleMania, and it pertains to Braun Breaker. There was news that came out about Braun Breaker. There was a situation where I think Breaker went over the announce table. I don't know if it was a part of an attack or something like that, or a part of a match. But what I heard is that there was a situation where Breaker went over the announce table, and when he did that, he actually really legitimately injured himself so much that he actually had to, or required to, get hernia surgery, where now there is a very good chance that Braun Breaker might also miss this year's WrestleMania, which is going to be very interesting, because Breaker was, for sure, you know, a lot of people's choice of the person to win the Men's Royal Rumble, which obviously we saw him quickly get eliminated by Obafemi due to the fact that he was attacked by some masked assailant that beat the shit out of Breaker, and Obafemi ultimately eliminated Breaker quick as hell. And we haven't really seen Breaker in action since then, but now we understand that he had to get hernia surgery. So this might put him on the shelf, possibly past WrestleMania, where he might not be a part of this year's WrestleMania. And from what I understand, there's been a lot of people backstage within the confines of WWE that are starting to get severely pissed off with the way that WrestleMania is starting to play out this year. Different things are moving, different things are changing off a dime, and a lot of talent are getting frustrated and pissed off with how WrestleMania is starting to look. But we're going to see how it happens, man. Obviously, you know, no one can predict a Breaker getting hurt or happen to require hernia surgery. Obviously, that's going to be very detrimental to the WrestleMania card, not seeing Braun Breaker on the WrestleMania card. I know they were trying to do something here between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, and now with Breaker having to get surgery for his hernia, that might put that Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker match in severe jeopardy going into this year's WrestleMania. So we're going to see how it plays out, man. It sucks about Braun Breaker. Hopefully he gets healthy and he comes back in a full bill of health and he's ready to compete again in the confines of WWE. But for right now, he might actually miss this year's WrestleMania, which is just to think about that, man. It's sad, bro. It really is, because WrestleMania this year is not looking that good, minus the CM Punk and Roman Reigns matchup. But it's not looking that good for this year's WrestleMania. But we're gonna see how it plays out. We got Monday Night Raw, obviously, tonight. We have Smackdown this week as well. We're going to have more qualifying matches for the Elimination Chamber. And we're going to see how things play out. Maybe we might hear more between CM Punk and Roman Reigns for more build-up towards their highly anticipated matchup at this year's WrestleMania as well. So we'll see how it plays out for Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown this week. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Friday Night SmackDown. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.